All right, eighth grade, we're going to be talking about grammar today. Some of you struggle a little bit with the assignment I gave yesterday. Just keep in mind that a clause has to have a subject and a verb. So if you just give me a few words, like for example doesn't have a verb. Okay, so it's a prepositional phrase actually. So make sure all clauses have a subject and a verb. And then we're going to give you a little cheat sheet here. If you look in the grammar book on 174, and by the way, next week I'm going to try to go on Google Meet so we can meet and have some interaction. 174, a lot of those words in the purple box are words that introduce subordinate clauses. So once you see those, you're going to get used to them. After each one of these, you could put an independent clause, and once you put this in front of it, it makes it a dependent clause. Like, I ate pizza. After I ate pizza. Although I ate pizza. Because I ate pizza. Where I ate pizza. So you see what I mean? I could have like an independent clause, but then when I put this word in front of it, all of a sudden these words or whatever, they become subordinate clauses. So these are subordinate conjunctions. They join a subordinate clause to an independent clause. That's why they're called conjunctions. Okay, so yesterday we talked about adjective clauses. They're just subject and verb clauses, obviously, which describe nouns. So we went over 5 and 6. If you look at exercise 7 on 173, they tell you how to use adjective clauses, so you have to insert some in here. So for number 1, a new book is here, you might say, by the way, remember, you got to find a noun and describe it. So you might say a new book which I just finished reading. That's an adjective clause. Number 2, my cousin likes to draw. So you find the noun cousin and you got to describe it. So you say my cousin who is 6'5". Number 3, this has 2 nouns. You can choose either one to put an adjective clause next to. My class, which can't wait for the trip, will go on a field trip which has been scheduled since September. Okay. My family, who acts weird, traveled to my favorite state, which is in the Midwest. You see what I'm saying? So I'm adding a lot of them WH words or TH words, which start adjective clauses. So again, clauses, independent or subordinate, have to have a subject and a verb. Otherwise, they're called phrases. Now, today I'm going to talk about the adverb clause. And this can be tricky, but as long as you remember that song, when, where, how, if you remember that song, you'll be in good shape. On the bottom of 173, you have, he will leave soon. That tells you when. So that's an adverb, just a word. Adverb phrase would be in a few minutes. See, that's a prepositional phrase. He will leave when? In a few minutes. And then the adverb clause, he will leave when he is ready. When he is ready describes, again, when he's going to leave. So if you look on the next page, when is one of those words in the purple box. So if you look at all these bold printed terms on point 6e, those are all adverb clauses. Notice that a lot of them start, well, the first 2 start with WH words, but they all do some kind of describing of verbs, adjectives, or adverbs. You may sit wherever you wish, describes sit, where you're going to sit. When winter sets in, obviously tells you when, so that describes hibernate. Many animals hibernate when winter sets in. So see, that's attached to hibernate, the verb. Jessica and Annabelle look as though, so how do they look? It describes how they look, how they appear. Where are we? Happy because he had made an A, Tony hurried home. Happy, and then it tells you why. Now, like I said before, if you can, why is also an adverb answer or question that's answered. Gabrielle can type faster than I can. So faster is an adverb because it describes how she types, which is a verb. So this is an adverb clause describing an adverb. And then the last one, if it does not rain tomorrow, we will go to Crater Lake. So we will go if it does not rain tomorrow. You see how that fits right after the verb go, so it's modifying the verb go. So it's an adverb phrase. So what we're going to do, we're going to do exercise 8, and we'll see how that goes. And then I'm going to give you a little bit practice homework tonight. See if you guys can get the hang of this after a while. I know some of this is not easy. Totally understand that because students have all struggled with this material. But like I said, it's going to be handy in the next chapter. So identify adverb. I'll tell you what, let me just do the first few of these 2 exercises and then we'll be good for the weekend. So homework's going to be page 175 and 176, but I'll tell you which ones. I'll put it in the news for the class. You have to identify the adverb clauses, and you got to tell me what word starts off that clause. And in that clause, you have to identify the subject and the verb. So number 1, these children once used many natural objects in games. Don't even touch that because that's an independent clause that can stay by itself. The next part, since no toy stores existed there at that time, is a subordinate clause. Look at the first word, since. If you look at that purple box on the previous page, since starts off subordinate clauses. Now, you could use this second part of the sentence and switch it, and just switch the order of the sentence. You could say the second part first and the first part second. It wouldn't make a difference. But this is how it goes. Since no toy stores, I was going to say toy stories, existed there at the time, since is the subordinate clause. And in that clause, what's the subject and what's the verb? Right. Stores existed. Okay? Does it make sense? Here we go. Number 2. Many American Indian children played darts with large feathers. Now that can stay by itself. As these Arapaho children are doing is a dependent clause or subordinate clause. The word as, if you look on the purple box, starts off a dependent clause. Now in that dependent clause, subordinate clause, what's the subject and what's the verb? Children, and what's the verb? Are doing. Don't forget are doing, it's both. Number 3, we'll do 3 for each one of these exercises to get you going. Number 3, if you look closely at the tree, you can see the children's target, a hole in the trunk. Which part of the sentence is subordinate and which one is independent? Right, the second part is independent. It can stay by itself. You can see the children's target, a hole in the trunk. The first part starts with the word if. If you look on the purple box again, it's there again. So if you look closely at the tree, what is the verb, subject and the verb? The subject is you and the verb is look. What's the word closely in that sentence? If you look closely. Yep, it's an adverb. Not an adverb clause, just a simple old adverb. So you're going to do 4 through 10, and again, what I want you to do is tell me, keep it simple, all right? One column will be subordinate conjunction. Give me the word that starts off the clause, and then give me the subject and verb in that clause. You don't have to give me the whole subordinate clause if you don't want to. I need 3 columns. Subordinate conjunction, so that word that starts it off. I want subject in that clause and the verb in that clause. 3 columns for each one. That's all you have to do. All right. Now exercise 9, write sentences with adverb clauses. So what they're going to do is they're going to tell you just to add adverb clauses in there, okay? Like number 1, most of the members of the drama club auditioned for the play. And remember, it describes when, where, or how. So you can say, as soon as the as soon as the bell rang, you could do that. You could choose any of those purple box words to start it off. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to do that, but I just want to give you a heads up on that. I just changed my mind in midstream. What I want you to do is 175, 4 through 10. I'm not going to give you too much, don't worry. And then what I want you to do is page 180, and I want you to do number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 5. Okay? So just look at what it says, like number 4, which you're not doing. Write a sentence containing an adjective clause. So remember, adjective clause describes a noun. So we saw the player who scored 20 points. That would be the adjective clause, who scored 20 points, in which a preposition precedes the relative pronoun. So you'd say, we saw the player in or on the bench who scored 20 points. So you just have to put in there what they're asking for, and let's see how you do on those. If you can do those, you can do anything. So homework, which will be in the news feed, 175, 4 through 10, 176, 1, 2, 3, and 5. And again, next week we'll try to do this live together, okay? We'll see you. Have a good weekend. Bye.